Welcome back, Super Brain. And how's your memory? It's what? It's super. And I always start with a positive, you notice, and you want to start your days and you want to start your conversation positive. And that's really the theme of what we're going to talk about in this lesson, about environments, internal environments and external environments also as well. And I think internal environment, the reason we talk about positive talk and positive thinking is because do you have a situation where maybe you're going through a program like this quest or just everyday life and you have some negative self-talk that you want to eliminate and get rid of? And here's the reason why you want to eliminate or get rid of or reduce your negative self-talk. We talked about them as ants, killing ants, automatic negative talk. The reason why you want to reduce it is because your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. As I mentioned before, when I was preparing for a marathon, I was reading a chapter on the psychology of it, and it said this verbatim, and I'm repeating this because this repetition is important for your memory. It said, your brain is like a supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your supercomputer not to. And that's really what's happening here. When we have negative self-talk and we say we're not good enough, or oh, I'm not doing enough here, or I'm not smart enough, or I have a horrible memory, those become unconscious programs for our mind. So what's the trick to reduce negative self-talk, these automatic negative thoughts? And the trick is to use magic. You're like, magic? You're a magician? Like, yeah, we're gonna do some magic, mental magic together. There's a phrase that magicians use to be able to perform their magic, right? They say abracadabra. So I want to take the first 4 letters of abracadabra, abra, and turn that into a technique for you. You can use any time you want where you find those negative thoughts coming in. So the A in ABRA stands for acknowledge. Now what does that mean? When you have a negative thought, I don't want you to fight it, because here's the thing, what you resist persists. What you resist persists. If I say do not think again of a big pink giraffe, what are you automatically gonna do? You're gonna think of that big pink giraffe because what you resist persists, right? And so you don't want to fight it, and you also don't want to fight for it either. You don't want to fight for your limitations, saying, oh, I have a horrible memory, because here's the thing, when you argue for your limitations, when you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. So you want to keep it positive. One of the ways to do it, the A, is you acknowledge it. You don't fight it, you just acknowledge that it's there, okay? So the B is I breathe in, because oxygen is very important. I breathe into the place where I feel like I have that thought. And the R in ABRA stands for release. So I want you to breathe in possibility, breathe in power, breathe in purpose, breathe in potential. And I want you to where that thought is. And then I want you to release that thought. Release the limitation, release the negativity out, and visualize it while you're doing it. And finally, the A in ABRA, the last A in ABRA, stands for align. What does it mean to align? It means to reset, like reset, because now that you've eliminated and released that negative thought, how do you align with your true self? How do you align with the truth about who you are, the truth about your real genius, and really, maybe it's the opposite of that negative thought. So whatever that negative thought is, say the opposite and make it positive and more empowering, so you align to your true nature. So next time you find a negative thought goes into your mind during the course of this quest, I just want you to do the ABRA technique. Remember, the first thing, A stands for what? You acknowledge it. The B stands for what? You breathe into it. You breathe in possibility, potential, and then the R stands for you release that negative thought with your breath. And finally, A is you realign. You align back to your true nature, your true genius of your super brain. And what you'll find using this ABRA technique is that your super brain will improve just like magic. The other part, we talk about your internal environment, your internal thoughts. The other part we talked about when we talked about the 10 keys for unlocking your super brain are the external environment. And part of our external environment involves the people around us. Right? We talked about number 5 was positive peer group, right? Because who you spend time with is who you become. So with this lesson, I just want to remind you that you could choose your peer group. So often, as you can imagine, it's the people that love us the most that are the ones sometimes that hold us back unconsciously. They ask you questions that make you doubt yourself. They ask you, why are you going to this event? Why are you listening to those audio programs and reading all those books or going on this quest? And they're well-intentioned sometimes, or even most of the times. It's just maybe they're afraid of change, and maybe they're afraid of losing you when you change like that also as well, uncertainty. And so what I would say when it comes to your positive peer group is be very mindful who you spend time with. But you could choose whether or not they have that influence over over you, right? Because who you spend time with is who you become. And so you want to be around people that encourage you, that challenge you, that are not nice to you, but they're kind to you, because there's a difference, right? You could placate somebody and just be nice to them, but somebody who loves you and is kind to you, they tell you what you really need to hear. Right? And that's what my job is here as your super brain coach. I don't always tell you what you want to hear, but I tell you what I feel like you need to hear, because that's what a good coach or a good friend will do for you, with kindness, right? So what I'm going to ask you to do as homework are two things. Number one, in your internal environment with your negative self-talk, your automatic negative thoughts, I'm going to ask you to be sensitive to it. And when it comes up, remember to use the ABRA technique, to acknowledge that, to be able to breathe into it, to release it out, and then align with something higher for your higher good. And when it comes to your external environment, with the people around us, if you have some energy vampires out there, I just want you to just be sensitive to that and do the best you can to stand guard to the doors of your heart, of your mind, of yourself. Because again, self-love and self-care is not selfish. And part of loving yourself is putting yourself in environments internally and externally where you can succeed at the highest level. Thank you so much for joining me, Super Brain. I hope you're enjoying your own magic, and I'll see you in tomorrow's lesson.